Hey, what is going on guys, Danny here, and in this video, I'll be talking about the new GeForce GPUs that were announced today at Gamescom 2018 by Nvidia at their celebration event. In this video, I'll be covering all the important stuff Nvidia had shown and talked about regarding these new GPUs. For those of you that didn't tune in to the Twitch stream, it was getting pretty wild. On their Twitch stream, Nvidia had attracted over 200k viewers, which is crazy. So it was apparent that there were a lot of people who were anticipating these new GeForce graphics cards. Since Pascal was released over 2 years ago, we were long overdue for a new architecture and a new family of graphics cards. Jensen, Nvidia's CEO, began the conference by talking about ray tracing and the RTX platform. This was actually the majority of this conference, as this is the new rendering technology that the Turing architecture and their new GPUs will leverage. It's actually a very impressive piece of technology. The lighting and shadow effects that are possible with ray tracing are very photorealistic when implemented into games, making the environments just visually stunning. I highly recommend you guys check out the SIGGRAPH 2018 conference and this one so you can see the demos for yourselves, learn about how they work, and get a more in-depth understanding about ray tracing. Essentially, game developers have had to use shaders to implement shadows, lighting effects, and reflections to the environments, inanimate objects, and character models. They had to do all of this manually, which is a lot of work and can be quite difficult depending on the complexity of the setting. However, with RTX, they don't have to worry about that anymore, as the RT cores will handle that for them. In one of the demos shown off, you can see the lighting effects and shadows change dynamically in real time and how they interact with the environment and characters. However, before you guys get all excited, remember that it will take quite a while before ray tracing becomes widespread in the industry. Don't expect from this point on every game out there will offer ray tracing options. It will take some time for developers to get on board and implement ray tracing in their titles. Jensen also talked about that the Turing architecture is built for RTX, how it has tensor cores and RT cores to utilize ray tracing, plus how they can use it to keep on improving. Most of this information we had already seen from their SIGGRAPH conference last week. A lot of the demos we also saw, like the Star Wars one and the Boogie Shoes demo, they had already shown to us, so it wasn't anything new. And then I felt like they were kind of starting to go off topic a little bit when they started going on about AI and neural networking. However, it was interesting to see the magic of deep learning, where they could colorize old images, change the hair color of the model on the fly thanks to AI, increase resolution on low-res pictures, turn a sketch into 3D. A lot of cool stuff that would get developers and graphic designers excited. It finally started to get a little more interesting though when they had shown the practical capabilities of RTX in some games that will be coming out in the near future, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Metro Exodus, and the new Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 is a game that I think would benefit quite a lot from ray tracing, because they showed how the environment can react to explosions and fiery effects, which the game has a lot of. So I think that with ray tracing and RTX, they can really bring the environment to life. Afterwards, things got either very exciting or took a huge downturn, depending on how you look at it. Jensen had finally unveiled the new RTX 20 series graphics cards, starting with the RTX 2080. If you hadn't seen my previous video, I discussed some of the leaks that came out in the previous couple of weeks, and it looks like Nvidia shifting that brand from GTX to RTX was true. So they unveiled 3 graphics cards today: the RTX 2070, the RTX 2080, and the RTX 2080 Ti. Yup, it looks like we're getting the Ti card right from the start, just like those leaks had suggested. The RTX 2070 will have 8GB of GDDR6 memory, 45 RTX ops, and 6 GB arrays starting at $499. The RTX 2080 will have 8GB of GDDR6, just like the 2070, and will have 60 RTX ROPs and 8 GB arrays for $699. And finally, the RTX 2080 Ti will have 11 GB of G6 memory, 78 RTX ops, and 10 GB arrays for a whopping $999. So in terms of memory configurations, these cards don't have more memory than their Pascal counterparts, except they'll be using the new G6 memory, which will provide more bandwidth. Now besides that, there are a lot of things to be concerned about here, and I do not like the way Nvidia handled this launch. One of the main concerns I had, and a lot of other people who felt like taking up arms against Nvidia, was the pricing on these cards. Starting from the top with the RTX 2080 Ti, which is going to be the 1080 Ti successor. In 2015, the 980 Ti launched with an MSRP of $649, and the 1080 Ti in early 2017 launched for $699. So a minor bump up there. The 2080 Ti has been increased by 43% in terms of pricing. Let's move on to the 2080. The 1080 had its MSRP dropped after the 1080 Ti launched down to $499, but had initially launched for $549. So depending on which MSRP you want to use as a reference point, this is also a drastic jump. The 970 had an MSRP of $329, and the 1070 followed with a minor bump of $50 to $379. When comparing that to the 2070, that's a huge increase of 32%. It's like these cards have all been shifted one spot up in the GPU hierarchy. Let me just rub some more salt in the wound by telling you guys, remember, these prices are MSRP. Just like with the Pascal launch, the Founder Edition cards will be going for more, and the same goes for partner cards. On Nvidia's website, the 2080 Ti, $1,200, 2080, $799, and 2070, $599. These prices do not reflect the prices that Jensen had told everyone. They don't even mention MSRP and say that the Founder Edition cards will be more. The 2080 and 2070 have increased $100 each, while the 2080 Ti increased $200 for some reason. What a crock of shit. Want to take it a step further? Asus 2080 Ti, $1,239, and the fastest EVGA 2080 for $849. These prices are absolutely insane. A 1080 Ti currently on Newegg costs $659 for the SC Black Edition, the one I have, and a 1080 on Amazon can be found for as low as $469. In some cases, you're looking at paying almost double. So what justifies these increases? I'm really scratching my head because I'm confused here. Because Nvidia clearly haven't told us why they cost so much more besides from praising their capabilities of ray tracing. I mean, if you had watched the conference, there were a lot of things omitted from there that would allow us to gauge just how much faster these new RTX graphics cards will be when compared to the previous generation Pascal graphics cards. Traditional performance metrics like teraflops were not even included. With the Pascal launch, I remember they were a lot more transparent when it came to specifications and performance. They straight up said that the 1080 was faster than 980s and SLI. They showed off the 1080's clock speeds, and they had also mentioned that a 1070 was as fast as a Titan X Maxwell. So we had a lot more information to go on back then as to where those cards would land in terms of performance and whether they justified their cost. However, in this conference, all they talked about was just how much faster their new Turing GPUs are at ray tracing when compared to Volta or Pascal. A lot of the event was them hyping up ray tracing. Jensen was trying really hard to make it seem like we absolutely needed ray tracing in our lives. But the fact of the matter is, there are hardly any games out right now that utilize ray tracing, and I feel like these graphics cards, performance-wise, aren't going to be that much faster than their older Pascal counterparts. I wouldn't be surprised to see that a 2080 can't beat a 1080 Ti in most benchmarks unless ray tracing is brought in. And that's the other thing that you have to consider. Nvidia did show off some titles that they said were going to be using ray tracing in the future, but if you think about it, there weren't that many to begin with. So it looks like you're just paying an early adopter's fee, a very high fee in fact, to use these special ray tracing features that make shadows and lighting effects look more prettier. But in actuality, a lot of people I know turn down these effects because they want to maximize performance. So you have to really ask yourself, is it worth it to justify these costs? 1 year ago, when I talked about the RX Vega launch and how I was disappointed with it, I said this. This is also scary because in the future, Nvidia will be basically doing whatever they want. In fact, they've already been doing whatever the hell they want. Charging whatever they can because they know there really isn't a better alternative. They're a corporation that will take full advantage of the situation. That's just the way it works. Unfortunately, due to the lack of competition, Nvidia are just in that position that they can charge whatever they want for these graphics cards. They can use whatever they want to hype them up without having to worry about showing real-world performance. I really hope that consumers don't put up with these shady antics, but I doubt that's going to happen. Nvidia's mindshare here is just too strong. I'm really wondering what in the world is going to justify these prices. 1864 Canadian dollars after taxes here in Ontario. I paid $900 all in for my 1080 Ti. Nvidia, you better deliver almost double the performance over your previous graphics cards. Otherwise, this launch is going to be looking like an utter shit show. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the next one.